Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Life Chronicles and Deep Dives podcast. I'm here with Coach Cornelia, and I believe she is all the way in Romania.
Yes, still here.
And I think that's going to be important for this topic, or one of parts of the topic. I'm going to move through a couple things here pretty fast, but I do want to get Cornelia's input later on in the podcast, and it's about Halloween, so it's going to be good. Please don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and then check out our links in the description box below for our website. And don't forget to leave comments in the comment section as well, so we can get back to you, engage with the channel, so we can get engaged with you. Cornelia, how are you doing today?
I'm doing very well. Thank
You had
you.
a busy weekend, or how's it going?
The last week and the weekend, yes, pretty busy.
Excellent. And just so everybody knows, Cornelia is our executive producer, production designer, editor, and she does a lot of work on the back end, where I'm just here on the face. She's over there doing all the work in the hard work in the back end. So we just want to make sure that we say thank you to Cornelia. Put a link in the comments section below for that.
Yeah, but Mike, I couldn't do it without you. So never. I would never. I remembered the other day, and now I'm remembering again how long it took you to convince me to put myself on a camera. Do you remember it? It was like
Yeah.
half a year or something, so I couldn't do it without you. That's for sure.
Yeah. Absolutely. And so, I mean, this is a journey of like self-progression, self-growth that I mean, I kind of we're kind of both going on. Me in the technological stuff, public speaking, you as well, coming out of your shell, working towards being on camera, being more present um on camera as we
Mm,
progress through the seasons. I think it's great.
yeah. Yeah, I've been talking a lot in the last episodes. I cut those parts, but I've been talking a little bit more than usual.
Yeah.
I've been talking a lot,
That's
to be
good.
honest.
So the first part, I wanted to, a lot of this is going to refer to the last episode, about the religion, the church, and the institution. And the one thing that I didn't bring up in the last episode is there's lots of movies that have like this religious undertone or backed by religion. But one movie that stand out to me because I watch these kind of movies called The Book of Eli, and it has
Mhm.
Denzel Washington in it and one other big name actor, Gary Oldman. He's in it. He's the bad guy. Great actor. Both of them are great actor. Mila Kunis, I believe, is in it as well.
And great
And
movie.
yeah, you like him?
Yeah, I love the movie. I've seen it 10 times probably. I'm gonna
Yeah.
watch it these days now that you reminded me
But
of it.
well, so the reason why I originally watched the movie is because Jeff Imada did the fight scenes, and I'm all about fight choreography and like the dance
Yeah.
and the cameras and the sounds and all that. And so I really watched it for that. But how it pertains to our last episode is we're talking about like church, religion, the institution, what man, the corruption of man, and how they use
Mhm.
that. In the movie, it's a post-apocalyptic world. Denzel Washington is traveling across the United States. I believe he's going east to west. And in it, you can see he's like reading a book throughout the movie. But during his journey, in his travels, he encountered, I think it's like in kind of like the western kind of the United States, and everything's like sandy and dusty and
Mhm.
post-apocalyptic because the nuclear fallout and war. He encounters an individual who wants this book, whose main sole purpose is to find this book that he has, that Denzel Washington has, his character has. But the bad guy, Gary Oldman, doesn't know he has that, doesn't know that Denzel Washington has the book until later on. But he's looking for the book because he knows that through the religion, through the Bible, he can control other people. In a post-apocalyptic world, he wants to acquire this book so that we can acquire that extra power. Oh, look, I've got the Bible, I've got this book. Not many people know how to read in the movie, so he'll maintain that that power with that book.
Mhm.
And I thought that was pretty interesting, and I did want to bring that up. Turns out at the end of the movie, spoiler. If you don't want to know the spoiler, skip ahead, a couple of seconds. At the end of the movie, it turns out that Denzel Washington, his character is actually blind, And, it's like this religious undertone that maybe like God has been leading him across the United States and helping him fight all these bad guys and, helping him dodge bullets or not get shot per se and,
Hmm.
fight with his machete. Great fight scenes. But at the end of the movie, Gary Oldman acquires the Bible. Unfortunately for him, it's in Braille and he can't read Braille. Denzel Washington was reading the Bible in Braille, and then he's
Hmm.
able, because he's memorized it in his journey, he's able to recite it to this like collection of people that are archiving history on the West Coast, and then they transcribe it, write it down, and they have a printing press and they print it and then they store it. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, what a great movie. And I mean, maybe when I first saw the movie, I was thinking about this dystopian world, but the people were still listening to what he was telling them from that book, Denzel Washington. So they were still looking for something. They were still searching for something. Do you remember we talked in our last podcast about this, that we will always search for something to guide
Mhm.
us somehow, for a higher power. And we will always have this guy who is going to want to be in power and manipulate people and so on. So
Mhm.
yeah, it's what's going on everywhere.
Yeah, you're right. I think it's
Not
like,
only in religion, not only religions. It's
mhm.
in any area. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was like Mila Kunis's character was like, oh, he's got this book, and then like he starts talking to her about passages in the book, as they're
Hmm.
tra as they join together and travel across. Yeah, so that's interesting to see, like he's telling her, spreading the word of God, and then but Gary, he's doing it. Denzel Washington's character is doing it out of the goodness of his heart for humanity. Gary Oldman's character wants to do it to control the population,
Yeah.
and so,
Right.
you see the two different sides of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
The next topic I wanted to talk about is Halloween. Do you guys celebrate Halloween over there in Europe, Romania, Denmark area?
I mean, in the last years, we started to celebrate it more like it's more like in the Western Europe than in Eastern Europe, because
Mhm.
because of the religion, you are not allowed to
Mm.
celebrate Halloween in
Got
the
it.
Eastern Europe. You know what it? Do you remember we've been talking about this also in the last podcast when I said you have to go to the source and read it. Just read
Mhm.
it with your own eyes, right? So the priests in here are always talking about how Halloween is the demons' holiday, while
Mhm.
it is not. It is a holiday that we also have it in this Orthodox church, which is very, very old and very heavy. So we do have this holiday. We are going to the cemetery. We are celebrating our the people who are dead. So we are lighting candles. We are bringing food. We are sharing food between us and so on. It's a very, very beautiful holiday. They
Mhm.
don't accept this one because they're saying it's a demonic holiday. Why are people dressing up this badly? Those are
Mhm.
demons, those are mean, and so on. So most of the people who are going to churches and never read about this holiday, so they're not informed, they believe that Halloween is a very demonic holiday. The other ones, like me and my family and friends, we are celebrating it every year. We are making spooky food. We are dressing really badly. We are watching horror movies.
Mhm.
Yeah, we love this holiday. It started to get more like to get more like traction. So more and more people are doing it. So I've been in a mall a few days ago and I've seen so many young people being wearing masks. So I was happy to see it. And then the local authorities, they decided to make some parade in the city with a lot of actors from our university of acting,
Mhm.
and it's been beautiful. But you can see the other side, judging and saying you're not allowed to do this. You are bringing all the dead in here and so on.
Right.
Fear manipulation.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, so to me, Halloween's it's a fun time. I have went to like we go to like what raves musical festival,
Mhm.
listen to bass music, dubstep, get a little
Mm.
dance action going. And then when I was younger, I used to dress up. I pretty much dress up as one thing now if I ever go for Halloween, and that's Blade, my favorite superhero, which
Wow.
is half vampire, half human.
Mm,
And I think Halloween's I think it's okay. Like I could see what they're saying, like you're representing all these demons, you're bringing them in, but I mean, I think it plays on the like human psyche of allowing people to it's almost like they allows them on one day to be something that they're not, whether it's their favorite superhero. I mean, this is more for the kids. Favorite
mm,
superhero, it could be, whatever. Even adults can like do this. And I think it's okay, right? As long as it's one day. I mean, it's not like we're adopting this identity for the rest of our lives, per se. You know what I mean? Like we're not
yeah.
dressing up in, another one of my favorite movies, and this is going to lead into the next topic, which is kind of why I brought up Halloween, because for the last 3 days, I've been watching Underworld, the movie Underworld, and
Mm,
Underworld Evolution and Underworld Rise of the Lycans, which is a prequel. The first three movies are really good, and then four and five, they're okay for entertainment value. I like them just for the lore and the action and whatever. Uh, the first movie is about a war between vampires and werewolves, and you kind of get a glimpse into like what started the war and what's trying to happen. The werewolves are trying to make a hybrid vampire werewolf. The the vampires are trying to kill all the lycans, the werewolves. And in the second movie, you go back in history a little bit. You see like the first werewolf who couldn't turn back into a human, and then whoever he bit could also they would change into werewolves, but they wouldn't turn back into humans. And then this character from the first movie came back in. Anyway, I'm just it's kind of like a big summary, and then there's this one female character that just like moves through the series as like the heroine. She becomes more and more powerful over the series. The war was started because werewolves were slaves at one point to the aristocratic, warlord vampires. And so I finished, and that's a very choppy, broad summary of these three movies. But when I was looking at it, I finished Rise of the Lycans, the prequel, last night. And what started my interest is in the first movie, I noticed some architecture that was kind of interesting. And then in the second movie, they went into some mountainous areas. In the third movie, it almost primarily took place at this like castle stronghold in the mountains. And you remember how in our previous episode, we were talking about the architecture of like Romania in Europe
mm,
and the churches. That
mhm,
architecture was pretty prominent in these movies. And obviously, they're using like CGI, they're doing mock ups. So I went on to
mhm,
AI. I was like, okay, where what am I looking for? Right? I mean, is this, what location is this based off of? Right? Or what location could it be based off of? And that led me to two locations. Hungary was the location, like a city in the first movie. There was
mhm.
I think it was the capital city of Hungary. I don't know what it's called. It starts with an S or
Budapest,
something.
Budapest, probably.
What
I
was
mean,
it?
Budapest is the capital of
Budapest.
Hungary.
Okay. And then, there was in the second movie, it went up into the mountains. In the third prequel, it was all in the mountains, and it said something about the Carpathian Mountains,
Mhm,
and then it talked about like Transylvania and Romania,
mhm.
and the Carpathian Mountains being big into vampire and werewolf lore. And so I wanted that. And the architecture is what led me here. I know that was a big, big workaround. I wanted to ask you, like, what are your thoughts on like vampires and werewolves and, the potential for that to be real, like lost knowledge out in the mountains or something like that?
Oh, wow. That's a tough one. I don't know. So we are very used to this idea of vampires in Romania, and we have so many traditions regarding the vampires, like you are killing them with some garlic and you put some cross on them and some holy water and but this really happens in Romania. It's not just a movie. So there are people who are considered vampires, and after they bury them, they take them off the grave and they put some very big wooden something in their chest, in their heart, to be
Hmm.
sure, to make sure that they are really dead. And then they put the garlic, holy water, and the cross and so on. So it's something that really happens in Romania. So I'm not sure how often right now, but before, maybe 50 years ago, it was very often. That
Hmm.
yeah. So this is with the vampires. I don't know anything about werewolves. Um, I actually, if I think about it, uh, so the werewolves are the ones that are becoming wolves at night and
Hmm.
then
Full
humans
moon.
again. Yeah, we have them as well. Yeah, it's the same procedure. It's the same thing with like with the vampires. They are not gonna bury them until they are doing some I don't know what rituals they are doing with it to make sure that they will be dead. So
Mm-hmm.
it happens here. It's such an old, very interesting that you're talking about this, about the architecture. It is, I mean, we know here in Romania they are making the churches in such a special way to bring some energy from whatever from the universe, and only the priests are allowed to stay in some special places in the church. Normal people are not allowed to stay in there. So that's something I wanted to bring on the architecture. I think it's very interesting. So Dracula was actually a Romanian leader who was called Vlad the Drake. Do you know about him, the Vlad the Drake?
I've heard of Vlad the Impaler. I believe
Yeah,
it's the
yeah,
same
that's
person,
him. Yeah,
yes.
yeah, yeah. And Prince Charles, the King of England, is his cousin.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
I think that the concept is kind of cool, right? If we've already talked about like if people believe in heaven and hell, if they're going to church, they must believe in angels and demons. It kind of goes hand in hand. To deny either one exists would just be, to deny, what the whole, the entirety of your religion, the idea, at least in Christianity, right? So there, to me, well, AI says that there's no proof of there being vampires, no documented proof. Stuff that was proven was, I mean, even witches. I mean, I was going to get into that in a little bit, but like even
yeah,
witches, like, that there's no scientific proof. But to me, I think there's always that possibility, and that's what I'm looking for. Is like, I saw documents a few days ago, and it was like declassified, and our State Department was going into Iraq to look for the tomb of somebody. I will find that. But I think it's so interesting that we we have this history. Like it had to come from somewhere, right? A legend, a myth, a lore, it had to originate from something. So I found this thing. It's it's Gilgamesh. So I guess
yeah.
a while ago let's find it specifically. There, according to this is Google and AI, there are no confirmed verified discoveries of the tomb belonging to Gilgamesh. However, in 2003, a German-led expedition to Iraq discovered the remains of a building in the former Euphrates riverbed that could be that. And then, Gilgamesh was, like a 17-foot giant king.
Mm,
But what's also interesting is our State Department was looking for this tomb of Gilgamesh in Iraq.
mhm.
And there are reports that, they found this excavation site and then they started removing stuff from Iraq, from artifacts to this out of the country. So I think that's interesting because, that's like a legend. And, they found like this chunk of tablet that was stolen out of Iraq and then given back to Iraq, which had the epic of Gilgamesh or part of it. And
Mhm,
it's
mhm.
it's like one of the oldest written things. It's a
Yes,
Sumerian poem, right? It's crazy,
yeah. Mhm.
but it has to come from somewhere. Like I mean, like what is it? So back to Vlad the Impaler, Vlad the Drake or whatever. Uh, what do you think about that? Because that's pretty near you.
Yeah, it's very close to. It's in the country.
Yes.
So he's been he was leading the country, and he had a lot of enemies, of course, and he would punish all the enemies by impaling them in a stake, or I'm not sure it's the right term. I've been looking for it, but I'm not sure. I'm still not sure. It's a huge stake that is gonna cross through the enemy,
Hmm.
and he would just display them all over his castle so that everyone sees what he can do. So how dangerous he is, actually. He was very dangerous. But he was very fair as well. He had a very good character. And then they decided that he is a vampire and he's still
Hmm.
alive, which would be very nice.
I mean, it'd be kind of crazy to think if vampires actually existed or werewolves actually existed. But I mean, I did look something up, and like with all the non-evidence, there was something where somebody may have like a fetish or like a mental health disorder called Renfield's disease,
Mm,
which I don't know if it's syndrome or disease. I just Renfield's, we'll call it that, and it's basically a desire to drink blood.
blood.
And
Mm,
I looked it up, and you'd have to for vampires to be alive. And the number was crazy because, like, let's say if there was one vampire for every city or major city, right? In the U.S., it would be they'd need to consume 12,000 people. Uh, and I don't remember what the time frame was, but they were like, if you had 12,000 missing cases, unexplained missing cases, it'd be hard to, describe that. And so I was looking for, I'm just kind of like digging into that, like what could this be, right? Because uh, that's a huge number of missing people, but we do have missing people, right? I mean, it's not that number, but we do have the missing people. But I guess per vampire to sustain, outside of Renfield's, disease, which a human couldn't sustain because you need like the carbs and the sugar and all that other stuff. It said that you could survive on blood for a certain period of time, but then, eventually you do. A vampire would need one full human every 2 days, drained
mm,
to sustain
mm.
based off of, just blood. And they're only requiring blood, not requiring like carbs, proteins, and all that stuff. So I thought, excuse me, I thought that was very interesting.
Yeah, it is.
Um, sorry, I didn't mean keep going. I'll let you go.
I wanted to say that it would be very interesting, but my mind took me to these old people who are controlling the world, and are everyone, like, if you're to listen to the conspiracy theories, they are drinking a lot of blood. They are treating themselves with blood. They are I don't know, they are taking the plasma from the blood and injecting themselves with it, and so on. So it's so many conspiracy theories around this blood theory with this is why they are so old, this is why they're still in power, and so on, because they are consuming this blood. And some of them look like they might be vampires. I don't know.
I mean, that could be a thing because, like, you heard that. I don't know if you heard about it, but it was a pretty big deal over here. Was the conspiracy theory about adrenochrome,
Yes.
which,
Mhm.
like they would scare children,
Yes.
like the elites would scare children, and this will lead into our next topic. The elites would like up these children, abuse them, and then scare them, and then their
Mhm.
body would release all these, chemicals and endorphins and adrenaline and all this, scare. What do they call that? Like cortisol and all this stuff into the blood, and then they
Mhm.
would drain the kids, drink the blood, and then that's how they would sustain their life. I mean, there's talks about, you mean even, politicians. Hillary Clinton was just in Japan, and she's been friends with uh, Marina Abramovich,
Mhm.
who does like spirit cooking, and she's for all intents and purposes like a modern day uh, conjurer, we'll say. So and you look at that and you're like, well, what's going on? I mean, and then if you look at the Anthony Weiner laptop emails that were leaked on WikiLeaks, um, there's an email between Hillary Clinton talking about sacrificing chickens to Moloch, and I'm like, okay, well now we're getting whoa. But I mean, there's like this all of these. possibilities that could be, real. And so into the next topic.
Just give me a second.
Okay.
Sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah.
I just want to bring something in. We have a legend, said legend, here in Europe that rich people who are very bored are, and this is how they explain that. This is how they explain why so many kids are missing. They're bringing the kids into the forests. They're hunting them, and
Mm.
then they're consuming them. So this is a very old legend in Europe, and it starts from the oldest, richest families in here. I'm not gonna say the names, maybe in another episode. But this is a very old and stable legend. I mean, nothing changed. No one came to say. Usually, there's people who are saying it is not true and so on. But in Europe, it's like a knowing truth that no one speaks about. That they're taking kids, hunting them in the woods, and then consuming them, which is
Mhm.
pretty crazy.
Well, I mean, so like we look at the elites, like the more money you have, the more power you have, like you've experienced, things that would normally satiate, a normal person. But because you
Mhm.
have all this money and all this power, you almost need more. So that leads me to believe, right? Things like Epstein, right? Which is what we're going to start talking about here in a minute again. Epstein, the elites, the royalty across the globe, that that to me is an indicator of a potential for it to be true. I'm not saying it is, but I'm saying that like because they have all this money and power, they don't they wouldn't get by. They would have already experienced things that normal people would have. I mean, look at Hunter Biden. He had, he was traveling across the globe, selling out the country with his, dad's name and his dad's help and making all this money.
Mhm.
And then what did he do with it? He spent it on, crack cocaine and prostitutes, right? And he needed more and more of each thing. So recently, I saw an article and I think I sent it to you, and then you sent me some information back, and it talked about like Prince Andrew,
Andrew? Yeah.
yes,
Mhm.
stepping down and moving out of the castle and renouncing all of his titles. And
No,
I
he
think,
doesn't want to move. I mean, he doesn't want to move out. That's how I don't want to say anything bad about the royal family, but this is how he is. He doesn't want to move away from the castle.
sure, of course. I mean, once you have something, you don't want to, you rarely want to give it up as
Mhm.
governments, once they collect a certain amount of taxes, they rarely want to not collect that much taxes. So, it would make sense that once he has, all of these things,
Privilege. Yeah.
yeah, privilege, yeah, that he then why would he want to give it up? But unfortunately, it looks like he's going to have to. And I think it's
Mhm.
because he's been named by Virginia Giuffre in her book
Mhm.
as a conspirator with Jeffrey Epstein. I think it's because Project Veritas, who was that guy? James O'Keefe had an undercover video where like some guy that was really close, like a bodyguard or an advisor to the prince, was
Yeah.
like he caught him on camera saying, "Yeah, the prince liked to have sex with underage girls
Mhm.
on this, underage on this spy camp kind of deal."
Mhm.
And you look at there was another article that I saw a few days ago where it said he went to Thailand and he bought like within, very short period of time, like an exuberant amount of prostitutes. And one thing about, well, Thailand is known, there's certain areas of Thailand that are known for high levels of prostitution, but somebody of his potential proclivities, right? Virginia Giuffre, Jeffrey Epstein, right? They've already experienced the normal. So what would they be going to Thailand for? The exotic, right? They
Mhm.
might be looking for something a little bit younger than, and I'm assuming that you could get that
Very. Yeah.
very
You can.
easily
Yeah.
outside. Yeah. So yeah, it makes sense that he needs to step.
So when Virginia Giuffre talked about and she brought a photo with him that was took just a few days ago. Someone said in a Piers Morgan show that the photo was taken by Epstein, and in the photo is Virginia Giuffre with Prince Andrew. He's been on television. He said so many times that it's not him, it's a fake photo and so on. Although it was those photos that were before, you couldn't fake them. It was on
Mm-hmm.
the paper, you know? So the
Mm-hmm.
old kind of photography, let's say. Yeah. So she killed herself, unfortunately. Now you see her book where she talks about it again, and then you find this. That's what brought the royal family to decide to strip him of all of his titles. They found an email where he was talking about what he was doing with Epstein.
Mm-hmm.
So this is how they decided to stop everything and make him a normal person again. But he will never be a normal person because he's so privileged. I mean, we normal people don't understand how privileged they are, and even if you take him all the privileges, he's still privileged.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
And
he's probably still going to get protection. He'll probably still have,
yes, always.
money
Yeah,
after money,
yeah. Hmm. And
just may not have it.
they said he's gonna move from that place where he's staying in a smaller one, which is beautiful and big and so on. So he's still gonna be privileged. What I'm thinking about is people are saying, okay, now he's punished. No, he's not punished. Punishment would mean that he is in jail,
Hmm.
right? Even though he
Yes.
was a prince, I don't even care. This is not a punishment. This is his family punishing him.
Hmm.
But the society and the justice didn't punish him yet.
Correct. Justice has not been served. And that's the case. I mean, I think for a lot of these underage victims that were
Oh,
on
yes.
Epstein's Island, we the problem is I I think there is probably a list of people that were on there, even if our government is currently saying there isn't. I think that the problem is that it would potentially topple governments
Hmm.
to release the information, and so, I mean, that's the one thing that would stop them from releasing the information. Either they're going after the people, but they've had years to do this. Either they're just going to start making arrests. I mean, we've got Bill Clinton with pictures of underage girls, with Epstein, they could go after these people. They could serve justice, or they could hide it for what they would call national security so that, the government doesn't collapse. I think it's interesting that in the United States, the Democrats have just now started asking about Epstein stuff. They blocked a lot of inquiries in the previous administration while they were in power, but now that potentially Trump could be on there, they're
No,
all
I
about it.
think if Trump was in there, they would have
Hmm.
published the files.
Oh, for sure. I
Yeah,
think
so
you're obviously correct.
yeah, he's not there, but at the same time, I don't understand why he's trying to make such a, like, to minimize this topic, which is so, so important.
I mean, we're
And
talking about a global network.
yes, yes,
Yes.
exactly,
I
probably.
mean, and
Yeah.
not just one. I mean, this can't be the only location. When I went to Mexico, I was in Mexico City, and we were driving around Mexico City, and you'd see like, a 16-year-old girl and a 9-year-old girl as prostitutes out on the street. There's a cop car, not 25 feet away, but they're street walking.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just like, okay, wow, what's going on? So it's prevalent, and to see it. I mean, I just saw something that said there was a place, I think it's in LA, uh, called The Blade, and they keep busting these underage girls that get, trafficked into here or, coerced into it.
Mm,
That's small level. We're talking about Epstein who had an island.
yeah.
Where's the justice? I
Mm-hmm.
mean, if it leads to the collapse of government, and so why wouldn't why wouldn't we want to get these people out? You know, maybe
Because
not
it's
collapse the government, just like scale it
probably,
down and
yeah,
rebuild it.
it's probably all of them, Micah. And you reminded me of a girl who lives, she's Danish, and she went to LA, and he participated in these parties from the Blade and from other places. She was very young when she went there, and then she, of course, she became older, but she still needed to look like she was very young, and she was dressing like a schoolgirl, and so on. And it was very important for her to look young, so she get more clients. She's been trafficked all over Europe, Arabic states, United States, and so on.
Oh,
And
saw this article that I think, yeah, I think I know what
and
you're talking
going
about. Yeah.
back, yeah, and going back to the blood stuff. So they wanted girls in their monthly cycle, so they can. So she was saying that it was like they were taking their power from her cycle.
Mhm,
After she spoke about all of these all of these things, bang, she has cancer now and she's gonna die.
mhm. Which I wanted to point out, I don't think Virginia Giuffre actually committed suicide. I think she was probably you know,
Yeah, it is very
assassinated.
possible.
Because I think people said that she wasn't suicidal. I think she even said that she wasn't suicidal. You know what I mean? But it's hard to say. That level of trauma could make
Mm,
somebody suicidal, but also at the same time, somebody could say they're not and then still be. So, but I
mm,
mean, the the book's out there. We've got other victims that are coming forward and saying, hey, we're going to compile our own list, but that fizzled out real fast. I don't know what's going to come of it. But when I look at this, I don't know if vampires and werewolves actually exist, but what we do have is evil within
pedophile.
humanity. And so, like,
And
this could be
medical.
your equivalent of a vampire
Hmm.
draining the life force from society, from good people, from innocent children. You know, that's, to me, they fit the definition.
Yeah. And there are so many pedophiles in the world. So many that they now I told you about. We talked about this in another podcast that they want to
Mhm.
legalize uh, pedophilia in Europe. Yeah, it's we are going to vote and we are voting some people, and then by this vote they are deciding for us. So they are being paid by us. We are paying them to represent our interests. And at
Mhm.
one point, they don't care about, not at one point, they never care about our interests. But from a point, they started to really not care. I mean, before they used to care about the image, they try to sweeten things and so on. Now they just don't care about it, like they did in Germany or in Holland. Do you want to protest? We're gonna cut your funds. We're gonna close your bank account, and when you become a normal citizen, normal like a slave again, we're gonna bring it back to you. You know, and so we are voting for them. We are bringing them in that place. We are paying them. They are our employees, and then they are doing anything they want without asking us. Who is a normal person who wants or who believes that pedophilia is normal? I don't think any normal people would think this, but they want it because they're all involved in it. And this is why I think in Epstein list, it's like you said, a global network. Europe, full of
Mhm.
them, and many other places. Virginia Giuffre said was speaking in the book about a prime minister who raped her the worst she's been through. It was with that guy. No one is saying, but it was. They say it was a prime minister of Israel. So it's all of them.
Yeah, I mean, massive networks, massive groups of people smuggling these people around. And like I said, I don't know if vampires and werewolves are real, but what I do know is that the real monsters are
Mhm.
bad people, and bad people do terrible things. And it's unfortunate. Um, when
Yes.
it comes to innocent people, when it comes to lives, power. We talk about the blood, uh, the taking of blood, taking of life force, taking of innocence, all of it.
Yeah.
Well,
And they're running
everybody,
they are the ones that are running the world at this point.
yeah. And so I, and I think that's what I want to bring in is that I think that we see these movies where the vampires, they exist. And like I said, the data shows that potentially they couldn't be alive. But you see the movies where, like somewhere a human thought about this. They have blood banks, they own blood,
Mhm.
plasma production companies. So like
Mhm.
where are they hidden? And so like they must hide some way, right? And that would make sense, if they were, warlords in, Europe at one point in time, they may have spread, via, ships or whatever. And then they
Mhm.
travel, they have all this money, they could invest in like, whatever, and then they can stay hidden. I mean, I'm talking about real vampires that
Mhm.
could potentially exist right now. And so I think that's pretty cool. And I always like the mystery. So I like, like
Me
I talked
too.
about the Tomb of Gilgamesh in this, like the
Mhm.
possibility of being able to find this thing that's in this poem that could be real. My dad's an archaeologist, so
Wow,
he
that's
deals in, those kind of things, but not necessarily like the mysterious ones. And I think finding those things,
hmm
that truth is also important. I think it's really interesting to like dive into it, like back in
yeah.
history, old
Yeah, I
tablets,
hope we
next,
can,
what's
yeah,
real.
I hope we can do this more often. There is another legend in Romania that says that we found some giants in the ground and they took it from here and they've been taken, I don't know where, in Russia probably, they say. But no one, there are pictures since that time. So it wasn't very a long time ago. But no one is telling us if it's true or not. So it would be
Mhm.
interesting to dive in a few times in the podcast and talk about these kind of things because I like mysteries as well.
Absolutely. Thank you, everybody, for catching up with us on this episode. And I know this one might be a little bit shorter than the other ones. It's my first wedding anniversary, so we are going to go
Happy,
celebrate that today.
happy anniversary and many, many more to come.
Thank you. Please don't forget to like the videos, subscribe to the channel, and check out the links in the description box below for our websites. Don't forget to leave comments. We'll be ready to engage with you guys, and we'll see you in the next one.